President Trump says he expects to have a trade summit with his Chinese counterpart very soon. It could herald a breakthrough in the months-long standoff over Chinese trade policies the president has deemed unacceptable. Correspondent Kevin Corke is at the White House to tell us what else the president's saying after this latest meeting at the Oval Office.
Is it more likely that a deal happens or doesn't happen? Speaking for the United States, I would say it's probably more likely that a deal does happen.
In perhaps his most optimistic reading of the talks yet, President Trump this afternoon signaled that the ongoing trade dispute between the U.S. and China could soon be nearing an end.
We want to make this a deal that's going to last for many, many years, and a deal that's going to be good for both countries. But we want to make it meaningful.
Trump's outlook was echoed by China's vice premier, who said a deal was very likely, and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, who announced that the Chinese negotiators who've been here in Washington for several days would extend their visit to build on progress that's been made this week. The Oval Office meeting today comes as the president prepares to meet the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, whose historic Singapore gathering with the president last year produced a joint statement with the sides agreeing to peaceful relations, the recovery of U.S. troops remains, follow-up talks, and the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. While the latter remains an elusive but ultimate goal, the president has hailed progress, including the cessation of missile testing by Pyongyang. But the news hasn't been all positive. The recently released worldwide threat assessment declared that North Korea is unlikely to completely give up its nuclear weapons and production capability.
Its leaders ultimately view nuclear weapons as critical to regime survival.
Coates is not alone in his skepticism of the North. CIA Director Gina Haspel accused Pyongyang of being committed to developing a long-range nuclear-armed missile that would pose a direct threat to the United States. The stark language from the president's senior intelligence cadre brings into sharp focus the stakes of the upcoming summit, particularly for our partners in the region like Japan and South Korea.
We now have a situation where the relationships are good, where there's been no nuclear testing, no missiles, no rockets. We got our hostages back.
And a possible meeting coming up in March between the president and Xi Jinping.